She kissed her boss at his wedding. Everyone thought she was crazy. But she'd just seen the bride with another man, and she was about to save his life. Before we start, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss stories like this. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, here's how it all happened. The priest's voice filled the cathedral. If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. Jules Harper burst through the doors and ran down the aisle. I'm sorry, she said, grabbing Malcolm Watson's face as she kissed him. Right there at the altar, in front of 1,000 guests, at his own wedding. The cathedral exploded into chaos. There were screams and shouts, camera flashes going off everywhere. Malcolm stared at her in complete shock, his mouth open and his eyes wide. Jules Harper. She was Malcolm's executive assistant for 3 years, and she'd worked with him for 5 years total. She was reliable and responsible, the kind of person who triple-checked everything and never took risks. Jules Harper didn't do crazy things. So why would she kiss her boss at his own wedding? 10 minutes ago, Malcolm had asked her to deliver his grandmother's bracelet to Victoria at her hotel room. When Jules walked in, she saw something she was never supposed to see. Victoria Sterling, the bride, was standing there in her wedding dress, but she was in David Watson's arms. Malcolm's cousin. His enemy. David's hand was resting on Victoria's very pregnant stomach. I'll have access to everything once we're married, Victoria said with a laugh. He's so in love, he won't even read the fine print. And the baby? David asked. He'll think it's his. By the time he realizes the truth, we'll have already transferred millions. Jules stood there frozen, but then she pulled out her phone with shaking hands and took photos. She tried calling Malcolm repeatedly, but there was no answer. So she did the only thing she could think of. But she hadn't expected this, the humiliation that came after. The shame that burned through her as 1,000 eyes watched security grab her arms. 2 huge men in black suits were now dragging her toward the exit. Take her to the police station. Victoria's voice was shrill. She assaulted him. She's insane. Victoria's father stood up. Call the police. She's obsessed with Malcolm. Victoria screamed. She's been stalking him for years. The guests were all on their feet now, their phones out and recording. This was going to be everywhere. Wait. Malcolm's voice cut through the chaos, and everyone went quiet. He walked down from the altar with his eyes locked on Jules. Let her go. Mr. Watson, this woman just. I said let her go. They released her, and Malcolm took off his jacket, placing it around Jules' shoulders. The cathedral went completely silent. Malcolm. Victoria shrieked. What are you doing? We need to take our vows. But Malcolm took Jules' hand instead. Come on. We're leaving. Malcolm. Victoria was screaming now. Don't you dare walk away from me. But Malcolm kept walking, leading Jules down the aisle and through the cathedral doors. They pushed past the reporters and cameras that were waiting outside. His driver was already there waiting. Malcolm helped Jules into the back seat and slid in beside her. Drive. The Grandview Hotel, top floor suite. And lose anyone who's following us. The car pulled away into the night. There was only silence between them as Malcolm stared out the window, his jaw tight and his hands clenched into fists. 15 minutes later, they walked into the hotel suite. Malcolm turned to look at her. Why did you do that? But before she could speak, he continued. I know you had feelings for me. I've known for a while now. Is that why you did this? Jules felt like she'd been punched. How long have you known? A while. He was searching her face. You've worked with me for 5 years, Jules. Did you think I didn't notice? Her face burned with embarrassment. Malcolm. You're not someone who acts recklessly, though. There must be another reason. Jules pulled out her phone with trembling hands. I tried calling you, but I couldn't get through. Malcolm checked his phone and saw 20 missed calls from Jules. I turned it off before the ceremony, he said quietly. I didn't want any interruptions. She showed him the photos, Victoria in her wedding dress with David's arms wrapped around her, his hand resting on her pregnant stomach. I heard them talking, Jules said. They were planning to drain your accounts after the wedding. And Victoria's baby, it's not yours. It's David's. Malcolm's face went white. He sat down heavily on the couch, just staring at the photos. Then he pulled out his phone and called his father. Dad? The wedding's off. His father's voice erupted through the phone, loud and angry. I don't have time to explain right now, Malcolm said firmly. Just send everyone home. Tell them there's a family emergency. His voice grew harder. This wedding is not happening. Not today, not ever. He hung up and looked at Jules. You know Victoria and I broke up 4 times in 3 years, right? He didn't wait for an answer. We just got back together 6 months ago, and everyone was so happy about it. Our families kept saying we were meant to be. He laughed bitterly. But it turns out she was planning to rob me the whole time. Were you ever going to tell me, he asked suddenly, about your feelings? Or were you just going to let me marry someone else and stay silent forever? Tears fell down Jules' face. I think I should leave now. She'd never imagined herself with Malcolm. That could never happen. The rich only marry the rich, after all. They weren't in the same world, weren't in the same class. Even if he wanted it, his family would never allow their only son to marry a woman with no name or status. Malcolm spoke quietly. I need to make some calls and figure out how deep this goes. I should go, Jules said. I need to start looking for a job. Your parents won't want me in the company after this. You saved me from the biggest mistake of my life, Malcolm said, looking at her intently. Why would I fire you? Jules walked toward the door. Jules, Malcolm called out. She turned around. Thank you, he said quietly, for being brave enough to do what you did. She nodded, and then she left. Malcolm stood alone in the hotel suite, staring at the photos on his phone. His perfect wedding. His perfect bride. All of it had been a lie. He started making calls. There was work to do. Malcolm stood alone in the hotel suite, staring at the photos on her phone. There was Victoria with David, his hand resting on her pregnant stomach, both of them wearing smug smiles. His perfect life had been nothing but a carefully constructed lie. He pulled out his phone and started dialing. His first call was to his head of security. Marcus? It's Malcolm. I need you to pull all financial records for the past 6 months. Focus on anything related to David Watson, and check for unauthorized access, unusual transactions, anything that looks off. Sir, what's going on? David's been stealing from me. I don't know how deep it goes yet, but I need answers now. I'm on it. I'll call you back in an hour. Malcolm hung up and immediately dialed his lawyer. Robert, I need you to review the marriage contract that Victoria's lawyers drafted, the one I was supposed to sign today. Look for any clauses about power of attorney or asset access. Malcolm, what happened? I heard the wedding was called off. Just do it. Fast. Call me when you find something. He hung up before Robert could ask any more questions. Malcolm paced the suite as his mind raced. How long had this been going on? How much had David already stolen? His phone rang. It was Marcus. That was fast, Malcolm said. Sir, you need to sit down for this. Malcolm's stomach dropped. How bad is it? Bad. David's been embezzling for at least 18 months now. Small amounts at first, a few thousand here and there, nothing that would trigger alerts. But it's been escalating. Last month alone, he moved over $200,000. Malcolm felt sick. How? He's been using his position as a board member to authorize transfers, routing them through shell companies and making it look legitimate. Honestly, sir, if you hadn't called me to look into this, we might not have caught it for months. 200,000, Malcolm repeated slowly. How much total? I'm still calculating, but it's over 3 million so far. Malcolm sat down heavily. $3 million, just gone. Get me everything. Every transaction, every company name, every account number. I want a full report by tomorrow morning. Malcolm hung up and immediately called his lawyer back. Tell me you found something, Malcolm said. I did, and you're not going to like it. Robert's voice was grave. The marriage contract that Victoria's lawyers drafted is an absolute nightmare. There's a clause buried on page 47. Once you signed that marriage certificate, Victoria would have had immediate power of attorney over all your financial accounts. The second you said I do. She could have started transferring money that same day. And there's another clause about asset commingling. Because you were planning to merge the companies as part of the wedding announcement, she would have had access to everything. Your personal accounts, your business accounts, all of it. Malcolm's hands were shaking now. I didn't read it that carefully. Our lawyers said it was standard. Her lawyers wrote it, and your legal team reviewed it, but they flagged some concerns. Do you remember signing off on those concerns? Malcolm closed his eyes. Victoria told me they were just being overly cautious, that it was normal for mergers. I trusted her. Malcolm, if you'd signed this contract and married her, she could have drained your accounts within hours. And with David helping her move the money through shell companies, you might never have gotten it back. Malcolm felt a chill run through him. So this whole thing, the wedding, the merger, everything, it was all planned. It looks that way. How long? Malcolm asked. Based on when this contract was drafted? At least a year, maybe longer. A year. Malcolm had proposed to Victoria 8 months ago, which meant they'd been planning this before he even asked her to marry him. I'm filing injunctions first thing tomorrow morning, Robert said. We'll freeze David's access to all company accounts, and I'm recommending we press criminal charges for embezzlement. Do it, Malcolm said firmly. All of it. He hung up and stared at the ceiling. Victoria had been playing him for over a year. Every smile, every kiss, every time she said I love you, all of it had been a lie. His phone rang again. It was an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Watson, this is Dr. Sarah Chen from Mercy Hospital. I'm calling about Victoria Sterling. Malcolm's stomach twisted. What about her? She listed you as her emergency contact, and I'm calling to confirm some information about her pregnancy. I'm not. Malcolm stopped and took a breath. What do you need? We're updating our records. Can you confirm the conception date? We have it listed as approximately 16 weeks ago. 16 weeks. 4 months. Malcolm did the math in his head. 4 months ago, he and Victoria had been broken up. They'd been separated for almost 5 months before getting back together 6 weeks ago. Dr. Chen, I need to ask you something. Is there any way to determine paternity before the baby is born? Yes, we can do a non-invasive prenatal paternity test. It's safe for both mother and baby. I want one ordered as soon as possible. Mr. Watson, I should tell you something. Victoria came in last week asking about paternity testing. She wanted to know if it could be done without the father's knowledge. Malcolm's blood ran cold. What did you tell her? I told her it required consent from all parties. She seemed upset by that information. Thank you, Dr. Chen. I'll be in touch about that test. He hung up. So Victoria had been trying to figure out how to fake the paternity results. She knew the baby wasn't his. She'd known all along. Malcolm looked at the photos Jules had taken again. Victoria and David, his hand on her stomach. The baby was David's. The embezzlement, the marriage contract, the fake pregnancy timeline, the power of attorney, it all fit together perfectly. David and Victoria had been planning to steal everything. The company, the money, all of it. And if Jules hadn't stopped the wedding, they would have succeeded. Malcolm thought about Jules, about how she'd kissed him in front of everyone and sacrificed her reputation, her job, everything to save him. She tried calling him 20 times, and he turned off his phone. She'd done the only thing she could think of to stop him from making the biggest mistake of his life. And then she'd left, thinking she was fired, thinking his family would never accept her, thinking she had no future with him. Malcolm stood up. He had work to do. First, he needed to deal with David and Victoria, press charges, recover the money, protect the company. But after that, he needed to find Jules. He pulled out his phone and dialed Marcus again. I need another favor. Find out where Jules Harper lives, and I want security on her house 24/7. David and Victoria know she's the one who exposed them. If they're desperate enough to steal millions, they're desperate enough to do something stupid. I want her protected. Understood. I'll send a team immediately. Malcolm hung up and walked to the window. His world had shattered today. Everything he thought he knew had been a lie. But Jules had told him the truth, even when it cost her everything. He wasn't going to let her face the consequences alone. Jules stood outside her apartment building, fumbling with her keys. Her hands were still shaking from everything that had happened, the wedding, the kiss, Malcolm's face when he saw the photos. She finally got the door unlocked and stepped inside. The apartment was dark and quiet. She flipped on the light. Victoria Sterling was standing in her living room. Jules gasped. How did you? The slap came out of nowhere. Victoria's hand connected with Jules' face so hard that she stumbled backward. Her cheek burned, and her eyes watered. You bitch, Victoria hissed. You ruined everything. Jules touched her face. It was already swelling. Get out of my apartment. Your apartment. Victoria laughed, the sound cold and mean. Do you have any idea what you've done? What you have cost me? You were stealing from Malcolm. You and David. We were taking what should have been ours. Victoria screamed. Malcolm has everything. Money, power, the company. David has been working just as hard for years and getting nothing. I was going to fix that. By lying to him? By trapping him in a fraudulent marriage. Victoria stepped closer, her eyes wild and dangerous. You think you're some kind of hero? You think Malcolm's going to thank you? Fall in love with you? Jules said nothing. He's never going to want you, Victoria continued. You're nothing. A nobody. An assistant with no family, no name, no money. Malcolm's parents would die before letting him marry someone like you. I didn't do this because I wanted him to. Yes, you did. Victoria smiled, cruel and knowing. You've been in love with him for years. Everyone knew it. We used to laugh about it. Poor little Jules, pining after her boss. It was pathetic. Jules felt tears building but refused to let them fall. It doesn't matter now, Victoria said. Because by tomorrow, everyone in this city is going to know exactly what you are, a homewrecker. An obsessed secretary who destroyed a wedding because she was jealous. I have proof. Proof? Victoria pulled out her phone. I have something better. Connections. My father knows every major news outlet in this city, every reporter, every editor. By morning, your face is going to be everywhere. And the story won't be about fraud. It'll be about you. She headed for the door and paused. Oh, and Jules? If you try to fight back, if you show those photos to anyone, I'll make sure you never work in this city again. My lawyers will bury you in lawsuits, defamation, harassment. We'll destroy whatever pathetic little life you have left. Victoria left, slamming the door behind her. Jules stood there shaking, her cheek throbbing. Then she ran to her phone and tried to call Malcolm. It went straight to voicemail. She tried again and again and again. The next morning, Jules woke up to her phone exploding with notifications. Hundreds of them. She opened social media, and her face was everywhere. Obsessed secretary ruins billionaire's wedding. Homewrecker Jules Harper, who is she? Malcolm Watson stalker employee exposed. The articles were vicious. They called her desperate, unstable, dangerous. One article had quotes from anonymous sources close to Victoria Sterling, saying Jules had been obsessed with Malcolm for years, that she'd been inappropriate with him, that she tried to sabotage his relationship with Victoria multiple times. These are all lies. But people believed them. The comments were even worse. She should be in jail. Home-wrecking whore. She's clearly mentally ill. Someone should teach her a lesson. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was her mother. Mom? What have you done? Her mother's voice was shrill and panicked. Jules, it's everywhere, the news, the internet. Everyone's calling asking about you. Your father won't leave the house. How could you do this to us? Mom, it's not what it looks like. Victoria was committing fraud. I don't want to hear excuses. You kissed your married boss at his wedding. In front of everyone. Do you know how embarrassing this is? Don't come home again. Not until you fix this mess. Her mother hung up. Jules sat there, numb. Her phone kept ringing with unknown numbers, reporters. She turned it off. There was a knock at her door. Jules looked through the peephole and saw two men in suits. Jules Harper? We need to talk to you about yesterday's incident. She opened the door a crack. Who are you? We're with Sterling Security. Miss Sterling has filed a restraining order against you. You're not allowed within 500 feet of her or Mr. Watson. What? That's insane. I didn't. We also have concerns about your mental state. Miss Sterling mentioned you might be a danger to yourself. Jules' blood ran cold. I'm not. The door burst open, and the two men grabbed her. Let go of me. Miss Harper, we're taking you somewhere you can get help. I don't need help. Let me go. They dragged her out of the apartment. She fought and screamed. But her neighbors just watched, and some recorded on their phones. They threw her into a van with no windows and locked doors. Jules pounded on the walls. This is kidnapping. You can't do this. But the van was already moving. After what felt like hours, the van stopped and the doors opened. They were at a facility with high walls and barred windows. No, Jules whispered. No, no, no. They dragged her inside. A woman in a white coat approached. Miss Harper, I'm Dr. Reynolds. You're here for a psychiatric evaluation. Miss Sterling was very concerned about your recent behavior. This is illegal. You can't just. Miss Sterling provided documentation of your obsessive behavior toward Mr. Watson, including the incident at the wedding. She's worried you might harm yourself or others. She's lying. I have proof that she. Miss Harper, the more you resist, the longer this will take. Dr. Reynolds nodded to the orderlies. Get her settled in a room. We'll begin the evaluation tomorrow. No. You can't keep me here. But they were already dragging her down a hallway and into a room, a small room with a bed bolted to the floor and a tiny window with bars. They locked the door behind her. Jules ran to the door and pounded on it. Let me out. This is illegal. I want to call my lawyer. No one answered. She ran to the window. They were in the middle of nowhere with woods all around and no other buildings in sight. She was trapped. Jules sank to the floor, her mind racing. Malcolm didn't know where she was. Her phone was back at her apartment. No one knew she'd been taken. Victoria and David had made her disappear. That night, Jules waited until it was dark, until the orderlies had finished their rounds. Then she went to work. The window was small but not impossible, and the bars were old and rusty. She used the metal frame from the bed, working at the bars for hours. Her hands bled and her muscles screamed. But finally, one bar came loose, then another. She squeezed through the gap and dropped to the ground outside. Pain shot through her ankle, but she didn't care. She ran into the woods, away from the facility. She didn't know where she was going, just away. Behind her, she heard alarms and shouting. They discovered she was gone. Jules ran faster. Malcolm called Jules' number and the call went straight to voicemail. He has been trying to reach Jules for 2 days. Marcus, did your team make contact with Jules? No, sir. We went to her apartment, but she's not there. Neighbors said they saw her being taken away in a van 2 days ago. Malcolm's stomach dropped. What? They thought it was police, but the van had no markings. Find her. Now. We're trying, sir. But. Malcolm's father walked into the penthouse with his mother behind him. Malcolm, we need to talk, his father said. Not now, Dad. Jules is missing. That's what we need to talk about. His mother sat down. Malcolm, this whole situation has gotten out of control. The media is destroying our family name, and the company's stock has dropped 15%. I don't care about the stock. You should, his father snapped. The board is calling for an emergency meeting. They want you to fix this. Fix what? This mess with Victoria. His mother leaned forward. Malcolm, we know she made mistakes, but her family is willing to work this out quietly. No charges, no scandal. You just need to marry her as planned. Malcolm stared at his mother. We're being practical, his father said. Victoria's father has agreed to return the money David stole. They'll handle David privately, and Victoria will sign a new prenup. Everything will be fine. Fine? Malcolm's voice rose. She tried to rob me. She's pregnant with David's baby. These things can be worked out, his mother said calmly. Many marriages have overcome worse. You want me to marry someone who plotted to destroy me? We want you to think about the family, his father said. About the company, about your reputation. That Harper girl has made you look like a fool. Marrying Victoria proves you're above the scandal. Jules saved me. Jules Harper is a nobody who caused this entire mess. His mother stood up. If you'd just married Victoria quietly, none of this would have happened. Because I would have been too broke to care? Malcolm. His father's voice was ice. You will marry Victoria Sterling, or we will remove you from the company. The board will vote you out, and you'll have nothing. Malcolm stared at his parents. Leave my house, he said quietly. Malcolm. Leave. They left. Malcolm stood alone in his penthouse with his hands shaking. Jules was missing. Victoria and David were getting away with everything. His parents wanted him to marry his attempted robber. His phone rang. It was Marcus. We found something. A facility outside the city, a private psychiatric hospital. Someone matching Jules' description was admitted 2 days ago under Victoria Sterling's authorization. Send me the address. Sir, she's not there anymore. She escaped 4 hours ago. They're looking for her, but find her before they do. Malcolm grabbed his keys. He was done playing nice. It was time to end this. Malcolm drove through the city with his phone pressed to his ear asking Marcus for any update on Jules. Still searching, sir. We have teams covering a 20-mile radius from the facility. If she's out there, we'll find her, Marcus said. Find her fast. It's been 6 hours since she escaped. She's alone, hurt, and Victoria's people are looking for her too. Malcolm hung up and kept driving. He was heading to the Sterling mansion because it was time to end this. He pulled up to the gate, and security recognized his car, opening it immediately. Mr. Watson, your parents are already here. They're in the main sitting room with the Sterlings. Of course they were. Malcolm walked through the front door without knocking. Voices came from the sitting room, along with laughter. He pushed open the doors. Victoria sat on the couch, looking perfect. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled. She wore a simple white dress that made her look innocent and angelic. His parents sat across from her with Victoria's parents beside them. Everyone turned to look at Malcolm. Malcolm. His mother stood up, smiling. We were just discussing the new wedding date. Victoria's been so gracious about everything. There's not going to be a new wedding, Malcolm said. Victoria's eyes filled with tears, devastating tears. Malcolm, please. Can we just talk? Privately? No. We're talking here, in front of everyone. His father stood. Son, that's not appropriate. You want to know what's not appropriate? Malcolm pulled out his phone. This. He showed them the hospital records, the paternity timeline, the embezzlement reports, the marriage contract with the hidden clauses. Victoria's been lying to me for over a year. She's pregnant with David's baby, and they've been stealing from my company. And that marriage contract her lawyers wrote? It would have given her access to drain every account I have. Victoria started crying with full sobs, her shoulders shaking. That's not true, she said through tears. I don't know where you got this information, but it's all lies. Malcolm, I love you. I've always loved you. The hospital confirmed the pregnancy timeline. They made a mistake. Victoria stood up with tears streaming down her face. The dates were wrong. The baby is yours, Malcolm. I swear on my life. Then take a paternity test. Victoria's face flickered, just for a second. Then the tears came harder. How can you ask me that? How can you accuse me of something so horrible? She turned to Malcolm's mother. Mrs. Watson, please. Talk to him. He's not thinking clearly. Malcolm's mother walked to Victoria and put her arm around her. Malcolm, this is cruel. Can't you see she's devastated? She's lying. No, you're being lied to. His mother's voice rose. By that Harper girl. She's poisoned your mind against Victoria. She's always been jealous of what you and Victoria have. Jules showed me proof. Fake proof. Victoria cried. Don't you see? She doctored those photos and made up those hospital records. She's been planning this for months, Malcolm. She wanted to break us up so she could have you for herself. Malcolm's father stepped forward. Son, I've seen Jules Harper's personnel file. Did you know she's been to therapy? For obsessive behavior? Malcolm went cold. That's confidential. Victoria's lawyers obtained it legally. Jules has a history of becoming fixated on men in positions of power. You're not the first boss she's been inappropriate with. That's a lie. Is it? Victoria pulled out papers with her hands shaking. These are statements from her previous employers. 3 different men, all saying she made unwanted advances and became obsessive when they rejected her. She handed the papers to Malcolm's mother. This poor girl is sick, his mother said, reading through them. She needs help, not encouragement. Malcolm snatched the papers and read them. They looked official with company letterheads, signatures, and detailed accounts of Jules' obsessive behavior. But something was wrong. The language was too similar, and the incidents too perfectly aligned with Victoria's narrative. You faked these, Malcolm said quietly. Victoria's tears came harder. Why would I do that? Malcolm, I'm trying to protect you. Jules Harper is dangerous. She kidnapped herself to that facility to make it look like I was attacking her. Don't you see? She's manipulating you. Kidnapped herself? Malcolm's voice rose. She escaped through a barred window. Self-inflicted, Victoria said. The doctors at the facility confirmed she has a history of self-harm. She hurt herself to make me look bad. Malcolm's mother touched his arm. Malcolm, listen to yourself. You're defending a woman who disrupted your wedding, humiliated you in front of everyone, and is now making up stories to destroy Victoria's reputation. I have proof. Fake proof, his father snapped. Malcolm, Victoria's family has agreed not to press charges against Jules. They're willing to let this whole mess go quietly, but only if you make the right choice. The right choice. Marry Victoria, his mother said softly. Like you were supposed to. Show everyone that you're not going to be manipulated by some obsessed assistant. Prove that you're stronger than this scandal. Malcolm looked at his parents and really looked at them. They believed every word Victoria was saying. They wanted to believe it because the alternative, that their son was almost robbed by his fiancée, was too embarrassing to admit. You're choosing her over me, Malcolm said quietly. We're choosing your future, his father said. Your reputation, the company, everything we've built. What about the truth? The truth? Victoria wiped her tears. The truth is that I love you, Malcolm. I made mistakes and I trusted David when I shouldn't have. But I never wanted to hurt you, and I'm willing to do anything, to make this right. She walked to him and took his hands. Please, she whispered. Give me another chance. Let me prove that what we have is real. Malcolm looked at her perfect face, her perfect tears, her perfect performance. And he saw exactly what she was. A liar. A manipulator. Someone who would destroy him without blinking. He pulled his hands away. No, he said. Victoria's face changed. The tears stopped, and her expression went cold. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. The only mistake I made was ever trusting you. Malcolm turned to his parents. If you side with her, we're done. I'll resign from the company, and you'll never see me again. His mother gasped. Malcolm, you can't be serious. I am. Choose, her or me. His father's face went red. You ungrateful. Malcolm's phone rang. It was Marcus. I found her, Marcus said. Jules. She's on Highway 47 and she's injured. I'm bringing her to your house now. I'm on my way. Malcolm hung up and headed for the door. Malcolm, his mother called. If you walk out that door, don't come back. He didn't look back. 1 hour later. Malcolm pulled up just as Marcus's car arrived. Marcus got out and opened the back door. Jules stepped out slowly. Her clothes were torn, her face was bruised, her hands were bleeding, and she was limping. But she was alive. Malcolm ran to her. Jules? She collapsed, and he caught her, holding her up. I'm sorry, she whispered. I tried to call. I couldn't. Don't apologize. Don't ever apologize. He lifted her carefully. Marcus, get Dr. Chen here now. Already on her way, sir. Malcolm carried Jules inside and laid her on the couch. She was shaking, either from cold or shock, he wasn't sure. He grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around her. You're safe now, he said quietly. I've got you. Jules looked at him with eyes that were exhausted and terrified. Victoria said, she said you'd never believe me, that your family would make you marry her anyway. My family can go to hell. Malcolm. I'm not marrying her. I'm not letting them control me, and I'm not letting anyone hurt you again. Jules started crying, real tears, not the fake ones Victoria had cried. I'm so tired, she whispered. Then rest. You're staying here with me, you will be safe here. Your parents will disown you. Let them. You'll lose everything. I won't lose you. Jules stared at him. Why are you doing this? Malcolm took her hand carefully, avoiding the cuts. Because you're the only person who's ever told me the truth, even when it cost you everything. He paused. And because I'm not going to let Victoria and David win. Jules closed her eyes, exhausted. Sleep, Malcolm said. When you wake up, we're going to war. Dr. Chen arrived 20 minutes later and examined Jules carefully. Multiple contusions, lacerations on her hands, sprained ankle. She's dehydrated and exhausted, but she'll be okay with rest. Thank you, Malcolm said. After Dr. Chen left, Malcolm sat beside Jules, watching her sleep. His phone buzzed. It was his father. If you don't marry Victoria, the board will vote you out. You have 48 hours to decide. Malcolm deleted the message. Then he called his lawyer. Robert, I need you to prepare a full case, embezzlement, fraud, kidnapping, assault. I want Victoria Sterling and David Watson arrested tomorrow. Malcolm, your parents are going to fight this. I don't care. Do it. He hung up. Jules stirred and opened her eyes. Malcolm? I'm here. She looked at him. Thank you, she whispered. For believing me. Always, he said. And for the first time since the wedding, Malcolm felt like he was finally doing the right thing. The next morning, Jules woke up to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she panicked. Where was she? Then she remembered. She was in Malcolm's house. She tried to sit up and winced. Her whole body ached. The door opened, and Malcolm walked in carrying a tray with breakfast. You're awake, he said. How do you feel? Like I escaped from a psychiatric facility through a barred window. Malcolm almost smiled. Dr. Chen said you need rest and food. So eat. He set the tray on her lap, scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. Jules' stomach growled. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten. Thank you, she said quietly. Malcolm sat in the chair beside the bed. Jules, I need to ask you something. When you were at Victoria's hotel room, did you see any security cameras? Jules thought back. Yes, in the hallway outside her room. Why? Malcolm pulled out his phone and showed her footage. It was Victoria and David in the hotel hallway, right before the wedding. The audio was clear. The hotel keeps security footage for 30 days. I had my team pull everything from that day. Malcolm's jaw was tight. This is definitive proof, their own words admitting to everything. Will this be enough? Combined with everything else? Yes. He stood up. I'm calling a press conference today. I'm going to expose everything, the fraud, the embezzlement, the kidnapping, all of it. Malcolm, your parents will have to deal with it. His voice was firm. I'm done protecting people who tried to destroy me. Jules reached for his hand. Are you sure? Once you do this, there's no going back. Malcolm looked at her. I've never been more sure of anything. 2 hours later, Malcolm's lawyer, Robert, arrived with documents. The DNA results came back, Robert said. I had the lab rush them. Malcolm opened the envelope and read the results. David Watson, 99.9% probability of paternity. Malcolm Watson, 0% probability of paternity. The baby was David's. Robert pulled out more documents. I also have the financial forensics report. David embezzled $4.2 million total over 18 months. Here's the paper trail, every transaction, every shell company, everything. Malcolm looked at the stack of evidence, security footage, DNA results, financial records, hospital records, the marriage contract with hidden clauses. Call the press conference, he said. 2 p.m. And contact the police. I want arrest warrants ready the moment I finish speaking. The conference room at Watson Industries was packed with every major news outlet in the city. Reporters everywhere. Cameras rolling. Malcolm stood at the podium. Jules sat in the back with her face covered by a scarf and sunglasses. Malcolm had insisted she be there for support and for protection. Malcolm's parents sat in the front row. His father's face was red, and his mother looked furious. Victoria and David sat on the opposite side. Victoria looked perfect as always in her white dress with an innocent smile. She was confident, sure that Malcolm was bluffing. Malcolm took a breath and began. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to make a statement, and then I'll take questions. He pulled up the first slide on the screen behind him, the security footage. 3 days ago, my wedding to Victoria Sterling was interrupted. Many of you reported on it and called it a scandal. You blamed my assistant, Jules Harper, for destroying the ceremony. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But what none of you knew was why she stopped the wedding. Malcolm played the security footage, and Victoria and David's voices filled the room. Once he signs the marriage certificate, I'll have access to everything. I already talked to a doctor about faking the results. The room erupted with reporters shouting questions and cameras flashing. Victoria's face went white. That's edited, she shouted. He doctored that footage. It's not edited, Malcolm said calmly. The hotel's security company has verified its authenticity, and it's also time-stamped. Taken 1 hour before the wedding. He pulled up the next slide, the DNA results. Victoria claimed the baby she's carrying is mine. Here are the DNA results, dated yesterday. David Watson is the father, not me. David stood up. This is a setup. You faked those results. The lab will testify in court, Robert said from the side. Everything was done by protocol. Malcolm pulled up the financial records. David Watson has also been embezzling from my company for 18 months. Total amount, $4.2 million. Here's the paper trail. The screen filled with bank statements, wire transfers, and shell company names. These transfers all lead back to accounts controlled by David Watson and Victoria Sterling. Victoria was shaking now, her perfect act crumbling. This is a lie. All of it. He's making this up because Jules Harper poisoned his mind. Malcolm pulled up the marriage contract. This is the marriage contract Victoria's lawyers drafted. Page 47, Clause 15. Upon signing the marriage certificate, Victoria would have had immediate power of attorney over all my financial assets. She could have drained my accounts that same day. Gasps came from the reporters. Jules Harper discovered this fraud hours before the wedding. She tried to contact me, but I had turned off my phone. So she did the only thing she could think of to stop me from signing away my entire fortune. Malcolm paused. She saved my life, my company, everything. He pulled up the final slide, photos of Jules with her bruised face, her cut hands, her injuries. After the wedding was stopped, Victoria Sterling and David Watson kidnapped Jules. They had her committed to a psychiatric facility against her will. She was held there for 2 days before escaping. These are her injuries. The room exploded with questions. Mr. Watson, are you pressing charges?
Yes.
My lawyers have prepared arrest warrants for fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and kidnapping. What about your parents? Are they involved? Malcolm looked at his parents. His father wouldn't meet his eyes. My parents were deceived, just like I was. They believed Victoria's lies. They're not involved in the crimes. But Malcolm knew the truth. His parents had chosen reputation over truth and had sided with criminals to protect the family name. Victoria Sterling, do you have a statement? A reporter shouted. Victoria stood up. Her face was red now, angry. The innocent act was completely gone. He's lying. All of this is lies. That footage is fake. The DNA test is fake. He's doing this because he's embarrassed that his assistant is obsessed with him. Then you won't mind taking another DNA test, Malcolm said calmly. Right now, in front of everyone, with a lab of your choice. Victoria's mouth opened and closed. Nothing came out. David grabbed her arm. We're leaving. Don't say another word. They headed for the door. Police officers blocked their path. Victoria Sterling, David Watson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, embezzlement, and kidnapping. The officers read them their rights. Victoria screamed and fought. This is illegal. My father will destroy you. You can't do this to me. But the handcuffs clicked into place. David tried to run, but 2 officers tackled him. The cameras caught everything. Victoria was dragged out, still screaming. David was hauled away in handcuffs. The conference room was in chaos with reporters shouting questions and cameras everywhere. Malcolm held up a hand. I have one more thing to say. The room quieted. Jules Harper is not a homewrecker. She's not obsessed. She's not crazy. She's a hero. She sacrificed her reputation, her safety, and nearly her life to save me from people who wanted to destroy me. He paused. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure everyone knows it. He stepped away from the podium. His parents approached. Malcolm, this is a disaster, his mother hissed. The family name is fine. Better than fine, because we're on the side of truth now. He looked at his father. You gave me 48 hours to choose. I chose. He walked away from them and went to Jules in the back. Ready to go? He asked quietly. Jules nodded. She was crying behind her sunglasses. They walked out together, away from the chaos. Outside, the sun was shining. It's over, Jules whispered. Not yet, Malcolm said. But it will be. He took her hand. And for the first time in days, Jules felt like she could breathe. Later that night. Breaking news tonight. Victoria Sterling and David Watson have been arrested on multiple charges including fraud, embezzlement, and kidnapping. The dramatic arrest happened during a press conference held by Malcolm Watson, CEO of Watson Industries. The broadcast showed the footage, Victoria being dragged away in handcuffs, David tackled by police. Mr. Watson provided evidence including security footage, DNA results proving Watson is not the father of Sterling's child, and financial records showing over $4 million in embezzled funds. The anchor turned to her co-host. What about Jules Harper? The assistant who was vilified in the media. New information has come to light showing Harper was actually trying to stop a fraud scheme. She's now being called a hero by many. The hashtag #JusticeForJules is trending worldwide. Jules watched from Malcolm's couch, wrapped in a blanket. Hero, she said quietly. That's weird. Malcolm sat beside her. Get used to it. What happens now? Now? We rebuild, your reputation, my company, everything. He looked at her. Together. Jules smiled for the first time in days. Together, she agreed. 3 days after the press conference, Jules stood at the window of Malcolm's guest room, watching the sunrise. She'd been staying here since everything happened. Malcolm insisted. For her safety. For her recovery. But she couldn't stay forever. There was a knock on the door. Come in, she said. Malcolm entered with coffee. Morning. How'd you sleep? Better, she lied. The nightmares were still there. The psychiatric facility. The locked room. The feeling of being trapped. Malcolm saw right through her. You're still having nightmares. Jules took the coffee. I'm fine. You're not. But that's okay. He sat down. Jules, my parents want to meet with you. They want to apologize. Her stomach dropped. What? You don't have to see them if you don't want to. But they've been asking every day. He paused. I think they finally understand what you did for me. Jules thought about Malcolm's mother calling her psychotic. His father siding with Victoria. The way they'd looked at her with disgust. Okay, she said quietly. I'll meet them. 1 hour later, Malcolm's parents sat on the couch. They looked older. Tired. Jules sat across from them, Malcolm beside her. His mother spoke first. Her voice was soft. Broken. Miss Harper. Jules. I don't know how to begin. She took a shaky breath. I said terrible things about you. I believed Victoria's lies. I sided with her over my own son. Tears filled her eyes. I was so worried about our reputation that I didn't see what was right in front of me. Malcolm's father cleared his throat. I told Malcolm he'd lose everything if he didn't marry Victoria. I threatened him. You saved my son. And I repaid you by calling you obsessed. Unstable. His mother stood up. Walked to Jules. I am so sorry. For everything we said. Everything we did. You risked your life to save Malcolm. And we treated you like a criminal. Her voice broke. Can you ever forgive us? Jules looked at this powerful woman now standing there with tears in her eyes. I understand why you believed her, Jules said quietly. Victoria was convincing. And I'm nobody. Just an assistant. Why would you believe me over her? Because you told the truth, Malcolm's father said. And we should have listened. His mother pulled out an envelope. This is a formal letter of apology. And a recommendation letter. The best one I've ever written. For any job you want. Anywhere. She handed it to Jules. Malcolm's father stood. We also spoke to the board. Malcolm will not be removed. Ever. His mother paused at the door. Looked back at Jules. My son cares about you very much. I can see it. The way he looks at you. The way he's protected you. She smiled sadly. I hope you'll give him a chance. And give us a chance to make this right. They left. Jules sat there, holding the envelope. Numb. Later that evening, Malcolm found Jules on the balcony, staring at the city lights. Hey, he said softly. You've been out here for an hour. Just thinking. About. Jules turned to face him. About leaving. Malcolm went still. What? I can't stay here forever, Malcolm. I need to leave. Get my own place. Start over. Why? Because this isn't my life. She gestured at the penthouse. This whole world. Your world. I don't belong here. Malcolm stepped closer. Who says you don't belong? Everyone. Your parents, Victoria, they were right about one thing. I'm not part of this world. You saved my life, Malcolm interrupted. You risked everything for me. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Jules felt tears building. Malcolm, don't. Don't what? Don't say things you don't mean just because you feel grateful. Grateful? He moved closer. Jules, I'm not grateful. I'm in awe of you. I'm falling for you. I have been for weeks. Maybe longer. Jules' heart was pounding. You can't be. Why not? Because everyone will think I did all of this to trap you. Her voice rose. They'll say I ruined your wedding so you'd be with me. They'll say I manipulated you. That I'm some gold digger. I don't care what they think. But I do. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Malcolm, I can't be with you. Not now. Maybe not ever. Because people will always wonder. They'll always think I had ulterior motives. What about what you want? Malcolm asked quietly. Forget everyone else. What do you want? Jules looked at him. At this man who'd believed her when no one else did. Who'd thrown away his family's approval to stand by her. It doesn't matter what I want. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Her voice broke. Because I'm traumatized, Malcolm. I can't sleep. I can't stop looking over my shoulder. I'm broken. Then let me help you. You can't fix me. I'm not trying to fix you. I'm trying to be here for you. He took her hands gently. Jules, I don't expect anything from you. I'm not asking you to be with me right now. I just need you to know that when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. Jules was crying fully now. Why? Because you're not just my assistant. You're Jules. And I care about you. More than I've cared about anyone. You're confusing gratitude with feelings. I'm not. You are. And when things calm down and life goes back to normal, you'll see that I'm just me. Just Jules. And you'll wonder why you ever thought. Stop, Malcolm said firmly. Stop putting yourself down. Stop telling me what I feel. I know what I feel. They stood there in silence. Finally, Jules pulled her hands away. I need to leave, Malcolm. Not because I don't care about you. But because I need space. I need to figure out who I am after all of this. I need to heal without feeling like I owe anyone anything. Malcolm's jaw tightened. You don't owe me anything. I know. But I need to prove that to myself. She wiped her tears. Can you understand that? Malcolm was quiet for a long moment. Yes, he said finally. I understand. I'll find an apartment. You still have your job. If you want it. VP of Operations. The board approved it. Full salary. Full benefits. Equal partner. Jules stared at him. Malcolm. Take time. Think about it. But don't throw away your career because you're afraid. His voice was gentle. You earned that position. Malcolm stepped back. I'll have Marcus help you find an apartment. Something safe. With security. And I'll stay out of your way. But Jules? She looked at him. When you're ready to heal, you don't have to do it alone. I'll be here. As a friend. As a colleague. As whatever you need me to be. He walked back inside. Jules stood on the balcony, watching the city lights blur through her tears. 1 week later, Jules moved into a small apartment across town. Malcolm kept his distance. He sent flowers once. A card saying you're stronger than you know. But he didn't call. Didn't visit. Gave her the space she'd asked for. And Jules realized something. She missed him. Not as her boss. Not as the man she'd saved. Just him. But she wasn't ready. Not yet. So she focused on healing. On therapy. On rebuilding. And tried not to think about the man who'd said he was falling for her. The man she was absolutely, terrifyingly falling for too. 2 weeks later, Jules sat in her apartment, going through job applications on her laptop. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Turn on channel 7. Now. Jules frowned. Reached for the remote. The TV flickered on. A news broadcast. We're coming to you live from Watson Industries, where CEO Malcolm Watson is making an unexpected announcement. The camera cut to Malcolm standing at a podium. Behind him was a massive screen. Jules' stomach dropped. Thank you all for coming, Malcolm said. His voice was calm. Controlled. I have an announcement to make about the future of Watson Industries. The screen behind him changed. Showed Jules' face. This is Jules Harper. 2 weeks ago, I called her a hero. Today, I'm making that official. He pulled up documents. Effective immediately, Jules Harper is being promoted to Vice President of Operations. She will have full equity stake in the company. 20% ownership. Equal say in all major decisions. Gasps from the reporters. Jules couldn't breathe. 20% ownership? That was worth millions. But that's not all, Malcolm continued. I'm also announcing the Jules Harper Foundation. A non-profit dedicated to helping victims of fraud, manipulation, and false accusations. Starting fund, $10 million. The reporters erupted with questions. Mr. Watson, is this because of your relationship with Miss Harper? This is because Jules Harper saved my company and my life. And instead of being thanked, she was vilified. Attacked. Kidnapped. Traumatized. Malcolm's voice was steel. This is me making sure that never happens to anyone else. Are you two in a relationship? Malcolm paused. No. Jules asked for space. And I'm respecting that. But I want everyone to know something. He looked directly at the camera. Jules Harper is the most courageous person I've ever met. She risked everything to tell me the truth. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure everyone knows it. Jules was crying now. So to everyone who called her a homewrecker, who called her obsessed, who said she was crazy, you were wrong. And I'm going to make sure the world knows it. The screen changed. Showed article after article. All the vicious headlines. These are lies. All of them. And I'm personally suing every outlet that published false information about Jules Harper. Not for money. For retractions. For apologies. For the truth. More gasps. Mr. Watson, isn't this excessive? Excessive. Malcolm's voice rose. Jules Harper almost died because people believed lies about her. She has nightmares. She can't sleep. She looks over her shoulder everywhere she goes. That's what lies did to her. So no, holding people accountable is not excessive. It's justice. Jules couldn't stop crying. Her phone rang. Malcolm. She answered. What are you doing? What I should have done 2 weeks ago. His voice was soft. Fighting for you. Malcolm, you can't just. I can. And I am. Jules, I let you walk away because you needed space. But I'm not letting the world keep thinking you're a villain. You're a hero. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. People will say you're only doing this because you have feelings for me. Let them. I don't care what people think anymore. I care about the truth. Malcolm. Watch the rest. He hung up. Jules looked back at the TV. Malcolm was at the podium again. I have one more announcement, he said. Jules Harper will not be returning to work at Watson Industries. Jules' heart sank. Instead, she'll be working from wherever she wants. Remote. Flexible hours. Full autonomy. Because she's earned the right to live her life on her terms. He pulled up a final slide. A photo of Jules and Malcolm from years ago. Both of them laughing. 3 years ago, Jules Harper became my assistant. She was brilliant. Dedicated. Kind. She made my life easier in 1,000 small ways. She made me better. His voice got quieter. More emotional. And somewhere along the way, I started to care about her. As more than an assistant. As more than a colleague. But I was too blind to see it. Jules couldn't breathe. Victoria Sterling was everything I was supposed to want. But she was wrong for me. And Jules knew it. Malcolm looked at the camera. Like he could see her. So when she saw Victoria and David planning to destroy me, she didn't hesitate. She kissed me. In front of everyone. Because she knew it was the only way I'd stop and listen. Tears were visible in his eyes now. And she was right. That kiss saved my life. He paused. Jules Harper, if you're watching this, and I know you are, I need you to hear something. I don't care what people think. I don't care if they say you're only with me for money. Because I know the truth. You're brave. You're honest. You're everything good in this world. His voice broke. And I love you. The conference room went silent. I love you, Malcolm repeated. I should have said it weeks ago. But I was scared. Scared of making you uncomfortable. Scared of pushing you away. Scared of admitting that the best thing that ever happened to me was losing everything else. Jules was sobbing now. I know you need space. I know you need time to heal. And I'm going to give you that. But I also need you to know that when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. Not as your boss. But as someone who loves you. Who's always loved you. Who was just too stupid to realize it. He stepped back from the podium. That's all I have to say. Thank you. He walked away from the cameras. The broadcast ended. Jules sat in her apartment, shaking. Crying. Malcolm had just declared his love for her. On live television. In front of the entire world. Her phone rang again. Malcolm. She answered. Did you mean it? She whispered. Every word. Malcolm, I'm still broken. I'm still healing. I don't know if I can. I don't need you to be anything right now except yourself. I just needed you to know the truth. That you're not alone. That someone sees you. All of you. And loves all of it. Jules couldn't speak. Take your time, Malcolm said softly. Heal. Figure out who you are. I'll be here when you're ready. And if you're never ready, I'll accept that too. But you needed to know how I feel. Everyone's going to be talking about this, Jules said. Let them talk. I don't care. I only care about you. They sat in silence. Thank you, Jules whispered finally. For what? For fighting for me. No one's ever done that before. Then they were all idiots. You're worth fighting for, Jules. You're worth everything. Jules closed her eyes. I'm not ready yet, she said quietly. I know. But maybe, someday? Someday is enough, Malcolm said. Someday is perfect. They hung up. Jules sat in her apartment, tears drying on her face. Malcolm loved her. He'd said it in front of the whole world. And she loved him too. She just needed to learn how to believe she deserved it. 3 months after Malcolm's declaration, Jules sat in her therapist's office. How are the nightmares? Dr. Martinez asked. Better. I only had 2 this week. That's progress. Last month you were having them every night. Jules nodded. Have you talked to Malcolm? He sends flowers every week. With notes. Do you read them? Yes. Jules pulled out her phone. Showed photos of every note. Thinking of you. You're stronger than you know. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Dr. Martinez smiled. That's consistent. Respectful of your boundaries. I know. Jules put her phone away. I miss him. Then why haven't you reached out? Because I'm scared. What if I'm not ready? What if I hurt him? Jules, Dr. Martinez interrupted gently. What if it works out? Jules went quiet. You've spent 3 months healing. Working through trauma. Building yourself back up. Maybe it's time to stop preparing for the worst and start hoping for the best. That evening, Jules stared at her phone for 20 minutes before finally calling. It rang twice. Jules? Malcolm's voice was surprised. Hopeful. Hi. Hi. Is everything okay? Yeah. Can we talk? In person. Silence. Then, when? Tomorrow? Coffee? I'll be there. Name the place. Jules chose a small cafe across town. 2 p.m. I'll be there at 1:50. She smiled despite herself. They hung up. Jules sat there, heart pounding. She was ready. Maybe not for everything. But for this. For trying. The next day, Malcolm arrived at exactly 1:50. Jules was already there, sitting in a corner booth. He slid into the seat across from her. Hi, he said softly. Hi. They stared at each other. Thank you for the flowers, Jules said. All of them. Thank you for calling. Silence. Awkward. Heavy. Finally, Jules spoke. I don't know what I want yet. I'm still healing. Still figuring things out. But. She looked at him. I miss you. I miss talking to you. I miss us. Whatever we were before everything fell apart. Malcolm reached across the table. Stopped himself. Can I? Jules nodded. He took her hand gently. No pressure, he said. I mean it. If all you want is friendship, I'll take it. If you need more time, I'll wait. Whatever you need. Jules felt tears building. What if I don't know what I need? Then we'll figure it out together. They talked for 3 hours. About everything and nothing. When they left the cafe, Malcolm walked her to her car. Can we do this again? He asked. I'd like that. Tomorrow? Jules smiled. Tomorrow. They met every day after that. Sometimes for coffee. Sometimes for walks in the park. Sometimes just sitting on a bench. No expectations. No pressure. Just time. Slowly, the awkwardness faded. One day, they were walking through the park when it started raining. They ran for cover under a pavilion, laughing. Jules looked at Malcolm. Really looked at him. His hair was wet. His shirt was soaked. He was grinning like an idiot. And something inside her chest cracked open. I'm glad you didn't marry Victoria, she said suddenly. Malcolm stopped laughing. Me too. Not just because of the fraud. But because then I wouldn't have this. Us. Whatever this is. Malcolm stepped closer. What is this, Jules? I don't know yet. But I want to find out. Yeah? Yeah. They stood there. Rain pouring around them. Can I tell you something? Malcolm asked. Always. I think about that kiss every single day. The one at the cathedral. Jules felt her face get hot. Malcolm. Not because it was dramatic. But because it was you. Choosing me. Even when it cost you everything. I didn't have a choice. You did. You could have walked away. But you didn't. You fought for me. He touched her face gently. Let me fight for you now. Let me be here while you heal. Jules felt tears falling. I'm still broken. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. What if I'm too damaged? Then we'll be damaged together. He smiled. Jules, I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to let me in. Jules looked at him. At this man who'd waited 3 months without complaints. Who'd sent flowers every week. Who'd given her space while making sure she knew she wasn't alone. Okay, she whispered. Okay? Okay. Let's try. Us. Malcolm's smile was brighter than the sun. Can I hug you? He asked. Jules nodded. He pulled her close. Careful. Gentle. And for the first time in months, Jules felt safe. Really, truly safe. 2 months later, Jules and Malcolm were officially dating. Quietly. Privately. Just for them. They went on real dates. Movies. Dinners. Museums. Jules returned to work. As VP of Operations. On her terms. One night, they were in Malcolm's penthouse, watching a movie. Jules was curled up against him on the couch. Malcolm, she said softly. Yeah? I'm happy. He looked down at her. Yeah? Yeah. For the first time in I don't know how long. I'm actually happy. Malcolm kissed the top of her head. Good. You deserve to be happy. So do you. I am. Trust me, I am. Jules sat up. Turned to face him. I want to try something, she said. She leaned in slowly. And kissed him. Soft. Gentle. Nothing like the desperate kiss at the cathedral. This was a choice. A real choice. When she pulled back, Malcolm was staring at her. Was that okay? She asked nervously. That was perfect. He cupped her face. But Jules, we don't have to rush. I don't want to wait anymore. Her voice was firm. I'm still healing. But I don't want to put my life on hold. I want to live. And I want to live with you. Are you sure? I'm scared. But I'm sure. Malcolm pulled her close. Then we'll be scared together. Jules smiled. Together. They kissed again. Longer this time. Deeper. And when they finally pulled apart, both of them were smiling. I love you, Jules whispered. The first time she'd said it out loud. Malcolm's eyes filled with tears. I love you too. God, I love you so much. They held each other as the movie played in the background, forgotten. 2 broken people healing. Together. 1 week later, Jules woke up in Malcolm's bed. She rolled over. Malcolm was already awake, watching her. Creepy, she said, smiling. Can't help it. You're beautiful when you sleep. She threw a pillow at him. He caught it, laughing. I have a question, Malcolm said. Shoot. Move in with me. Jules sat up. What? Move in. You're here most nights anyway. And I want to wake up next to you every day. Not just some days. Every day. Jules thought about it. Her little apartment. Her independence. But then she looked at Malcolm. At the life they were building together. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay. I'll move in. Malcolm pulled her into a kiss. Best decision you ever made. Second best, Jules corrected. The first was kissing you at your wedding. I thought you regretted that. I did. For about 5 minutes. Then I realized it was the best thing I ever did. She smiled. It gave me you. It gave us each other. They kissed again. And in that moment, Jules realized something. She wasn't just healing anymore. She was happy. Really, truly, completely happy. 2 months after moving in together, Jules woke up to the smell of coffee and pancakes. Malcolm was cooking again. She threw on one of his t-shirts and walked into the kitchen. Morning, chef, she said. He turned, smiled. Morning. Hungry? Starving. They ate breakfast together. Small moments. Normal moments. I have a surprise for you today, Malcolm said. Jules raised an eyebrow. What kind of surprise? The good kind. Be ready by 6. Malcolm. No questions. Just trust me. She did. She trusted him completely now. That evening at 6, Malcolm's driver picked them up. Where are we going? Jules asked. You'll see. They drove through the city. Then Jules noticed something familiar. Malcolm, is that the cathedral? The same cathedral where everything had started. Her stomach twisted. Why are we here? Malcolm took her hand. Trust me. They got out. The cathedral was empty. Quiet. Malcolm led her inside. Jules' heart was pounding. The last time she was here, she'd run down that aisle. Kissed Malcolm. Changed everything. I haven't been back since that day, she said quietly. I know. Neither have I. They walked down the center aisle slowly. When they reached the altar, Malcolm stopped. This is where you saved me, he said. Jules looked around. At the empty pews. At the spot where she'd grabbed Malcolm's face and kissed him. I was terrified, she admitted. I thought you'd hate me. I thought I'd lose everything. But you did it anyway. Malcolm turned to face her. Because 6 months ago, you ran down this aisle to stop a wedding. Today, I'm standing here asking you to walk down it again. Her breath caught. But this time, Malcolm continued, not to stop a wedding. To start one. He let go of her hands. Reached into his pocket. And got down on one knee. Jules gasped. Tears spilling. Malcolm pulled out a ring. Simple. Elegant. Beautiful. Jules Harper, he said, his voice shaking. 6 months ago, you changed my life. You showed me what real love looks like. You saved me from a life that would have destroyed me. Jules was crying fully now. I don't want to spend another day without you. I don't want to wake up without you beside me. I don't want to build a life that doesn't have you at the center of it. His eyes were wet now too. Will you marry me? Will you walk down this aisle one more time? But this time, toward me. Not to stop a wedding, but to start our forever. Jules couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. All she could do was nod. Over and over. Yes, she finally whispered. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Malcolm stood up. Slid the ring on her finger. And kissed her. Right there. At the altar. Where it all began. But this time, it wasn't desperate. Wasn't panicked. Wasn't a last resort. This was a choice. A promise. A beginning. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying and laughing. I can't believe you proposed here, Jules said. Where else would I do it? This is where our story started. I ruined your last wedding in this place. Malcolm grinned. Then we'll make better memories. Outside the cathedral, their families and closest friends were waiting. Surprise, they all shouted. They all started clapping. You knew? Jules asked Sarah. He's been planning this for weeks. I helped him pick the ring. Malcolm's mother hugged Jules. Welcome to the family. Officially. They all went to dinner. A small restaurant Malcolm had reserved. Everyone toasted. Laughed. Told stories. Malcolm's father stood up. When Malcolm first brought Jules home, I was skeptical. I'd believed terrible things about her. But watching them together these past months, I realized something. Jules didn't just save Malcolm from Victoria. She saved him from himself. She gave him real love. Real happiness. He raised his glass. To Jules and Malcolm. May your wedding be far less dramatic than your first kiss. Everyone laughed and drank. That night back at the penthouse, Jules couldn't stop staring at her ring. It's beautiful, she said for the 10th time. Malcolm laughed. You keep saying that. Because it's true. They were curled up on the couch. When I ran down that aisle 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lose everything. My job. My reputation. Any chance at happiness. And I did lose those things. For a while. But I gained so much more. She looked at him. I gained you. I gained real love. I gained a life I never thought I deserved. Malcolm pulled her closer. You deserve everything, Jules. Everything good in this world. I have everything I need right here. They sat in comfortable silence. So, Malcolm said. When do you want to get married? Jules thought about it. Soon. Not too soon. But soon. I don't want a long engagement. How soon? 3 months. Malcolm smiled. Perfect. Small wedding? Very small. Just family and close friends. Nothing big. Nothing dramatic. After the last wedding, I think dramatic is off the table permanently. Jules laughed. Agreed. Simple. Intimate. Just us. Just us, Malcolm repeated. I like that. Jules turned to face him. Malcolm? Yeah? Thank you for waiting for me. For giving me time to heal. For just being there. You're worth waiting for. You're worth everything. They kissed. Slow. Deep. Full of promise. Jules rested her head on his chest. Listening to his heartbeat. I'm going to marry you, she whispered. I'm counting on it. In the same cathedral where I kissed you. Poetic justice. Our families will be there. Happy. Supportive. No drama. No fraud. No interruptions. Just us. Starting our forever. Malcolm kissed the top of her head. Just us. Outside, the city was alive with lights and noise. Inside, two people who'd survived hell were planning their heaven. Together. The next morning, Jules woke up to her phone exploding. Malcolm's mother had posted a photo. Jules and Malcolm at the cathedral. Him on one knee. The caption, she said yes. Welcome to the family, Jules. The comments were overwhelming. OMG, they're engaged. After everything they went through, they deserve this. That cathedral. The same place where it all started. This is the best love story ever. Jules showed Malcolm. He smiled sleepily. My mom posted. Your mom posted. Is that okay? 6 months ago, she would have panicked. Now? It's perfect, she said. Because it was. Everything was perfect. The nightmares were gone. The fear was fading. The trauma was healing. And in its place was love. Real, honest, beautiful love. Jules Harper had kissed her boss at his wedding 6 months ago. Everyone thought she was crazy. But she'd saved his life. And now he was going to be her husband. Life had a funny way of working out.